I read a lot of historical romances this year. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now for today's video, I'm going to be doing my favorite historical romances of 2020, and 2020 has been a year. It's been a year where I actually hosted 2 historical romance readathons with my 2 best friends here on booktube and bookstagram, Jessica from Peaceful Books and Lacey from Lacey Book Lovers. And if you didn't join us during those readathons, it was a great time, and I'm sure that we will host another readathon in the next year simply because we just love and adore this genre so much. This year was the year where I kind of revisited the genre. I feel like in 2019 I just neglected the genre so much that I just didn't read much in 2019, but in 2020 I feel like predominantly my reading taste has been shifted to historical romance, as seen by my videos, as seen by my Goodreads challenge, and also as seen by my shopping habits. This year was also a year where I kind of had a growing addiction to buying lots on eBay, where I bought whole collections of authors because I really wanted to read them, or they were my favorite authors, and it's just been a wonderful journey so far. So for today's video, I'm going to be listing out some of my favorite historical romances that I read this year from new to me authors, and also from authors that I've read and loved in the past. So I can't wait to let you know some recommendations. So one of my first books I have to recommend to you is obviously from one of my new to me authors, and also from one of my favorite authors now that I've tried and read a majority of her books. This one's called Once More, My Darling Rogue by Lorraine Heath, and Lorraine Heath is a perfect author in the sense that she can write very dramatic settings, make you feel like this is not going to end well. It's super angsty, it's super complicated, but somehow she manages to make everything all right and make you feel like that this love is actually here, built to last, and that everything's going to be okay in the end. So Once More, My Darling Rogue actually follows a character named Ophelia and a hero named Drake. Ophelia kind of has a very snobby character towards her. She has her nose up in the air a lot of the times. She looks down at people all the time, especially our hero Drake. And now Drake doesn't come from a normal, typical background. His bloodline isn't as clean as others, and he may not be as wealthy as others, and may not be as well known as others as well. This causes Ophelia to really have a lot of prejudice against him and always kind of snubs him, even though she does feel an attraction towards him, and even though she does think that he's a pretty handsome and great guy. Ophelia is very stubborn in that sense, and what happens when she gets herself into an accident, falls into a river, hits her head, and then forgets all her memories? Well, this turns into an amnesia romance where Ophelia is actually told that she is a servant in Drake's household by none other than Drake himself. Drake just wants to do it as a joke and just wants to get back at her for all those mean comments that she always made to him in public. But when they're stuck in close proximity together, when Drake sees that she's hurt, when Drake sees that there might be something more to her just having an accident, things get a little bit tricky, and also things get a little bit more fast-paced. I absolutely love this book, and I recommended it to my friends Jessica and Lacey all the time, because this one I would describe it as Sharpay from High School Musical, where she is just like fabulous all the time and she just wants more, but she also gets humbled in the end and knows that, you know, money and title isn't everything, and that maybe she should look deeper than skin surface. Okay, so the second book that I want to recommend to you is kind of a weird one, because I just made a video about her whole series, and where I basically said that I wasn't interested in her series and I thought that the books were mediocre at best. But this one is actually part of the series, and this one surprised me so much that it actually made my list. But basically this book is called The Vicar Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn, and this one is one of my favorite Bridgerton novels, and it's actually my favorite. It's not even one of my favorite, it's just my favorite. This one tells the story of our oldest Bridgerton brother, and he is named Anthony. Anthony wants to really take care of the estate so that he can fulfill his father's late promises of taking care of the whole family. So he decides that, you know what, it's time for him to get married, and what he does is that he picks the fairest lady of them all during the season, and it just so happens to be our main heroine's younger sister. And by younger, I mean kind of considerably younger than Anthony. So it does kind of get weird, but it's not that weird, because like back in the time, like it's appropriate for you to marry a younger wife. It's just that, you know, the age gap difference might make you uncomfortable at first. So Anthony decides to court our main heroine, who is named Kate, younger sister, and Kate kind of like the studious person she is, and always wanting to protect her younger and naive sister. So Kate decides to stop this from happening because Kate thinks that Anthony actually has other motives towards courting her younger sister. And in the process, Kate and Anthony kind of find themselves in tricky situations where they're very close to each other and that they are actually finding each other to be very attracted to each other as well. I loved Kate as a character because Kate was kind of described to be not as the prettiest of the ball. She always kind of had a low self-esteem towards her, where she thought that no guys would think that she's attractive enough. Nobody asked her to dance a lot during the dances. And she also thought that, you know, she, compared to her younger sister, she was going to be hopeless on the marriage market. And Kate kind of just always accepted the fact that she's going to be a spinster who's not going to be married. So when Anthony and Kate actually kind of share a kiss together and get together, it's super cute and super adorable. And I absolutely loved Anthony and Kate's relationship, and Kate kind of like growing into her own skin and feeling beautiful in her own skin and actually feeling that she is worthy of Anthony. So definitely go check this one out. So the next book that I have to recommend to you is from an author that not a lot of people actually talk about here on Historical Romance, BookTube, whatever we like to call it, or on BookTube in general. And I'm saddened by it because she's actually one of my favorite authors, and I feel like I just need to sell her books because they're amazing. This one's called If the Duke Demands by Anna Harrington, and Anna Harrington has written quite a few books. She's written some series, but it's not published by Avon, so I think that's where we kind of hit the snag. Avon is a massive publisher for historical romances, and a lot of people turn towards Avon titles, but when you're publishing from different publishers such as Forever Romance or from Sourcebooks Casa, you kind of don't have the same publicity, and you kind of, your names doesn't really get to like the higher status, if you know what I mean. You're not really a high priority for readers, but Anna Harrington is definitely a quality writer that I think a lot of people should read. This one's called If the Duke Demands, and this one follows a character named Miranda. And now Miranda is hopelessly in love with her childhood best friend kind of situation, and she decides that she's going to take control of her love life in her own hands. And she decides to, during one of the dances or one of the balls, whatever we like to call it, she asks the serviceman where his bedroom is in the house. And his serviceman kind of like point her into a direction, and she sneaks under the covers and she's ready to seduce him. So when he enters the room, she's getting like, you know, hot and bothered with him. And it's only until they light a candle and they realize that she's actually in the wrong room and that she's actually in his older brother's room. And now his older brother's name is Sebastian, and Sebastian's our hero. Sebastian's completely thrown off that A, the childhood best friend of his younger brother has completely grown up, and B, that he can't seem to get his mind off of her. So there are some really fun and exciting things that happen in this book, where basically she convinces him that she will help him find a suitable wife if he can help her kind of get into like the little brother's attention, and that the little brother can fall in love with her. And this one is so cute and so adorable because there's obviously a lot of like, you know, genuine miscommunication happens where he thinks that she's in love with the younger brother and he can't get her, and then she thinks that, you know, he's not gonna like her because she doesn't come from a perfect background and she's not suitable to be like a duchess and things like that. So definitely to go check out this book. And Anna Harrington always somehow makes me cry. Okay, so the next book that I have to recommend to you is actually a book that I've been basically promoting to Lacey from Lacey Book Lovers ever since I read it, and I just keep shoving it down her throat, telling her to read it, but she hasn't read this one yet, and I feel like you guys should read it so that we can all kind of be happy together. And if you have read it already, perfect. But this book is from Lindsay Sands, and this one's called Love is Blind, and this one was just a very sweet and super cute romance. Now this one features a character who is scarred. He came back from the wars. His face is actually covered in scars, and a lot of the debutantes and a lot of the other girls that are entering into society and kind of going into the season don't want to marry him because he's kind of scary looking. Our main female character, guess what? She actually wears glasses, and she is kind of like an ugly duckling in the group because she wears glasses. People don't think she's attractive because she needs pieces of glass in front of her face so that she can actually see what's in front of her. And our heroine actually has her mother and her parents and everyone involved to try to get her to be married off to someone good, and so that she can kind of go on with her life and get off like being a spinster. So they decide to kind of like take off her glasses and reinvent herself. And this is the story of how our two main characters, Clarissa and Adrian, actually get together, but without actually seeing each other in a way, because she's kind of blind. She doesn't see how he's deformed from his scars, and he kind of doesn't really care that she wears glasses and kind of things like that. And this book is kind of a story about how, you know, beauty does not matter, and it's really the person that you're falling in love with instead of the outside appearance and looks. So that's why I absolutely love the story, and I really can't recommend this one enough if you're looking for an ugly duckling tale. Okay, so speaking of Lacey, the next book that I have to recommend to you is actually a book that she gave only 3 stars to, which really disappointed me because this one was literally my favorite novel and I just loved it so much. This one, of course, is Do You Want to Start a Scandal by Tessa Dare, and if you guys haven't watched it already, I basically read all of Tessa Dare's books this year and I filmed a whole video about it and I talked about each and every single one. I basically loved all her books except for one book, and that's like impressive enough, because usually what happens with even my favorite authors, I do have some books that are in the lower 3s and also in the 2-star range, but Tessa Dare is just my queen and I just love her so much. So Do You Want to Start a Scandal is one of my favorite novels because it's one of the novels that actually had me cackling with laughter. I was laughing so hard when I was listening to the audiobook at work that, like, thank God I work from home now, because everybody else in the office will look at me like she's crazy. Why is she laughing so hard? So if you want a humorous historical romance, definitely check this one out. This one involves a character named Charlotte and Piers, and Charlotte is this kind of girl who is different from other girls in the way that she knows how to throw a punch. She sometimes gets herself into trouble a lot. She's very outspoken and she's very bright and she's very smart and she's very strong. So if you're looking for characters who are like that, definitely already check out Tessa Dare's novels, because her characters, her female characters, are always someone to admire. So now Charlotte and Piers find themselves in a tricky situation when people think that they were hooking up in a room when in reality it was another couple. And then all her family members kind of go into the room and demand that Piers marries Charlotte afterwards because of all this noise and all this attention that was brought onto them when they found them in the room. And then afterwards, now Charlotte doesn't want to marry Piers unless it's for love. And Charlotte determined to who the couple was so that she can clear her name, while Piers is also following along her detective work, while also falling in love with her and trying to convince Charlotte that, you know, maybe a marriage to him isn't that bad after all, and that maybe they are meant for each other. So Piers in this entire novel is seducing Charlotte. Absolutely loved it. Very cute, very adorable. Sometimes I really hate mystery elements in my books because I don't care, but this one I actually did want to care because I wanted to know who was this couple that brought my favorite couple together. So the next book I have to recommend to you is another Tessa Dare novel. Now for this video, I kind of didn't want to kind of recommending the same, like, different books from the same author, because I wanted to explore more new authors and give you guys new recommendations, but the heart wants what the heart wants, and I want you to know that Do You Want to Start a Scandal and also When a Scot Ties a Knot by Tessa Dare are 2 of my favorite books from her. When a Scot Ties a Knot actually kind of shocked me that I liked it so much, mostly because back then I didn't like Highlander novels. I didn't like heroes with Scottish accents, but this one I really enjoyed. This one is about a girl named Madeline, and Madeline is a very bright person. She really likes sciences, she really likes biology, she really likes animals, and she wants to focus on that. But a lot of her, you know, female people in her life are trying to convince her that she needs to get married and she needs to follow this appropriate line where she gets married, to have children, and then just kind of forgets about her hobbies. So Madeline wants them to get off her back. So Madeline does the one thing that she needs to do, which is invent a sweetheart. So Madeline decides to write letters to a character that she invented, which just so happens to be Logan Mackenzie. And she thinks that, you know, this is gonna go all smoothly, and then she decides to kill him off and pretend that he died in the war, so that everybody could leave her alone so that she can grieve and that she can just focus on her work and things like that. But what happens when a man actually appears in front of her doorsteps and actually says that his name is actually Logan Mackenzie? And surprisingly, the whole story that our main character Madeline actually invented actually followed really closely in line with his real life. And now Logan is here for the ride because Logan has his own motivations to why he wants to have this fake marriage and have this fake relationship with her. And that's because Logan has a whole clan that he needs to take care of. And she just so happens to own a piece of property with a lot of land that can help these people in his clan. Now, this book is also filled with a lot of jokes and it was really super funny. It was also very super cute because Logan and Madeline have the cutest banters all along. So the next author that I want to recommend to you is kind of a new to me author. She's not really new to me because I read this book a long time ago, way before I started book blogging and way before I joined the book community. But I wanted to do a reread of the book because I had it on my shelf and it's been like 5 years since I read the book, but I knew I loved it so much. So I just wanted to see if I still love it as much. And guess what? Spoiler, it's in this video and I loved it a lot. This one's called Lady Bridget's Diary by Maya Rodell. And this one I've recommended a lot to Jessica because I know that Jessica loves Bridget Jones' Diaries and also A Pride and Prejudice retelling, I think. So this one is perfect for her and perfect for me. This one is about a girl named Bridget. She's American, and basically what happened is that her father actually married someone who was American even though he is British, and he has a whole dukedom to take care of. And then what happens is that he starts a family in America and dies in America because he doesn't want to return back to England and fulfill his responsibilities and things like that. But now everybody at home actually wants to bring back this American family to Britain so that they can take care of the dukedom, so that everybody kind of has a job and, you know, everybody fulfills their responsibilities in life. So this American family travels back to Britain and actually has to go through kind of like a boarding school type situation where they have to learn, you know, how to act in front of others in a public setting and how to politely address others and things like that. So Bridget is one of our characters. And like I said, this one's kind of based on Bridget Jones' Diary, where Bridget is very not ladylike. She's different from others in the sense that she's curvier than other girls, she's outspoken, and she seems to get herself into a lot of clumsy situations where she either hurts herself or she hurts others. So her grand entrance into one of her debut balls was that she fell onto the dance floor, and our hero Darcy actually sees this and wonders what the heck is going on. Like, why is everything so messed up right now? Why are these Americans kind of like coming in and ruining everything? And what happens is that Bridget is actually engaged to Darcy's younger brother. And this is where kind of a love triangle happens, where Darcy thinks that Bridget's in love with the younger brother and he thinks that the younger brother's in love with Bridget, and then Darcy can't get his mind off of Bridget, but then he also knows that Bridget is attracted to him from all the close proximity touches and things like that. This book is filled with drama that I never expected to fill. This book was actually filled with a lot of diverse characters that I haven't seen in historical romances, including sexual orientation, that kind of made me really appreciate this book even a lot more. And it also included a lot of like secrets and dramas as well. So this is actually a part of a quartet series, and you will get to meet the other siblings. You'll get to meet the two other sisters and also the older brother, and then their storylines actually bleed within each other. So you get to see glimpses of other people's stories as the main story is unfolding, and that will make you want to read what actually happened to them in the next book. So with that being said, this one is one of my favorites. Super adorable, super cute, and this one made me laugh too as well. So definitely go check it out. So the last book that I want to recommend to you is also from the same author, Maya Rodell, and I basically, spoiler alert, read a lot of her books, and I plan to make videos about her series as soon as I finish her series. But get super excited for it because I'm actually enjoying so much of her books right now. This one's called The Wicked Wallflower, and this one's my last recommendation for this video. And The Wicked Wallflower surprised me in the sense that this series is about wallflowers, and they're presumed to be kind of plain, kind of boring, kind of quiet, kept together, and polite. But they're actually not, and they actually have like this very exciting personality towards them, and they're very bright and very honest with themselves, so much that I love this series. Now, The Wicked Wallflower actually follows two characters. Our main character is named Emma, and Emma basically is shocked that the rogue, the hottest guy of the season, really the bachelor that nobody can really get their hands on, proposes to her in the middle of a party in the middle of the field, and everybody kind of has this whole speculation about Emma and Blake now, who is our hero, and they think that, you know, there must have been something going on and that they've been lying to the ton for the entire reason. And Emma is shocked because she actually now has to play along now, or else her reputation is ruined, and also because he promises her that he'll break off the engagement if she helps him. And then he would also in return help her by making her more attractive towards her longtime crush and get him to propose to her. So they kind of have their own ulterior motives, and basically Blake needs her help in the sense that they need to have a fake relationship where everybody would swoon over and everybody would want, because Blake actually has this kind of like really old grandmother that is super rich, and that in theory, she should be giving her all her money to him as an inheritance, but she doesn't want to make everything so simple for him in life. So she actually decides to create this kind of like fortunes games, which I like to call like kind of like the Olympic Games, where you go through a lot of different activities with your partner, and then she determines who the winner is, because she bases on compatibility, and she also bases on your like true intentions for her fortune. And then it's just so funny in the sense that like they both bicker a lot, and people are confused because they're supposed to be this very lovey-dovey couple, but they're clearly not. And they also have like this sharing and growing attraction for each other, to the point that he's honestly like he's very confused because he just wants Emma to be happy, but then at the same time Emma might be in love with another guy. So I absolutely adore this novel, and I highly recommend you check this one out, and also the series, because I'm almost done the series, thoroughly enjoying it too as well. But anyways, that is it for all my historical romance recommendations that I've read this year that I think that you should read too as well, and authors for you to check out. Let me know in the comments if you guys read these books and if these ones are your favorites too, so we can fangirl about them. But until next time, I'll see you guys again with another favorites of 2020 video. Bye.